She had mentioned the night before that the place was haunted.
Have you ever been in a haunted space? Have you ever wanted to be a rock and roller? Want to play in a band? Want to have an adventure? See the world? Well, it doesn't pay. You'll get hungry. You'll be thirsty, and you may or may not have a drinking or drug problem. And you'll need places to stay. If you're willing to accept such conditions, by all means, please. Enjoy a life on the road. My name's Kristen Ford. Welcome to Spooky Season Songcast. Our special guests today are Charming Disaster, a wonderful musical duo that I highly recommend. I cannot recommend them enough. To be honest, it's scary how good these two are. But they provided a very scary story, a recounting, if you will, of a journey on the road. And you know, every musician has a couple horror stories. Every interview and memoir and deep dive, your eyebrows will raise, your goosebumps will be goosey. Oh my. Some of my favorite road stories are, hey, don't worry, there's only bed bugs upstairs. You guys can crash downstairs. Or, yeah, it's really not that bad. My mom came through recently and cleaned our whole place. Meanwhile, it's like the most disgusting bathroom I've ever seen in my entire life. Sure, you guys can come and crash with us. Then you just hear them like having the sex afterwards through very thin walls. Like the kind of sex of like, we went out to a dive bar and invited the band back because fuck it, we're having a good old time. Sure, you guys can stay. I mean, good for them, but it's really awkward when you're like next to your bandmate in your little sleeping bag on the hardwood floor and it like smells like cat and it's just not great. And then you hear the people making the sweet, sweet love. I mean, it's not right. We gotta have privacy. We gotta have a little time to sleep. Or when you get put up in a really nice hotel room, but your tour mate goes out to Tootsie's with her friends and gets really, really rip-roaring drunk and then snores like a sailor or like a, I don't know, someone with really bad sleep apnea. Undiagnosed sleep apnea. The scariest spooky story ever told. I've stayed in some interesting spots, especially in Europe. They sometimes have a little room that leads to the next little room, and then there you are in the attic. You can crash there, or there you are. And if you're lucky, the owner's mom will make you Irish breakfast, bangers and mash. Wow, that really happened. But you know, not all stories are quite as favored. And sometimes weird things happens to your technology when you need it the most. You see that thing you can't explain and you try to document it. Maybe you were just hungry. Maybe your eyes were just playing tricks on you. Maybe you were just so hopeful that something would turn around, something would go your way this tour, that you can't quite trust your eyes. Well, I've heard ghosts jamming from the wings. I felt the presence of undead things. I've seen the hawks fly and the coyotes howl. Here is the last spooky songcast for you, my each and only waterfowl. Take it away, Charming Disaster.
This is sort of a touring band horror story.
And possibly a little bit of a ghost story as well.
To begin with, it was a long drive. And when we arrived at the venue,
A cavernous community art space and a former thrift store.
there were some obvious red flags right away.
For instance, the venue owner had agreed to feed us, but had forgotten.
She said we could walk up the street and order some food on her tab at the bar where she also worked, so we got some veggie burgers and fries to go in styrofoam clamshell containers.
But as soon as we returned to the venue, we had to get set up. The gig was an art fair with live music, which was us, and we needed to sound check before the doors opened to the public.
It was a long gig. Since we were the only band, we had to play multiple sets over the course of the event.
Which was not exactly a huge success. The vendors easily outnumbered the customers.
And during our set breaks, some of them put the hard sell on us to buy their hats or art prints or Sculpey jewelry.
By the end, we were pretty exhausted. We broke down all of our gear and packed up the merch table and loaded our numerous small, heavy cases into the car.
The venue owner gave us a hand, and when we were basically all ready to go, she wished us well on the rest of our tour.
And that's when we realized she'd also forgotten she had promised to put us up for the night at her house.
We brought this to her attention, and an awkward moment ensued. And then her face brightened.
You can stay here. The couch is a pull-out bed.
There was a ratty sofa in the center of the vast space, which we had seen a handful of vendors sitting on earlier. We looked at it with some skepticism.
We were too tired to make a fuss and too hungry. Those styrofoam clamshells were still unopened hours later.
So we started loading all of our numerous small, heavy cases out of the car and back into the venue.
As the venue owner was locking up to leave, she said, "Oh, if you see someone walking around the space, don't worry. It's just one of the people who lives in the basement. He also uses that bathroom."
There was no shower, just 2 urinals and a toilet, plus a kitchen area with a sink and a microwave. We made hot water for tea in our own electric kettle, and we finally ate our very congealed veggie burgers and French fries.
The pull-out sofa was the old-fashioned kind, where there's a very thin mattress and a metal bar that goes across the middle of your spine. But we were too exhausted to feel it.
We passed out on the tiny island it made in the middle of the huge room, surrounded by unsettling papier-mâché art and plastic-covered racks of clothing from the space's thrift store days.
In the morning, the venue owner texted us.
I randomly checked the security camera last night, and there were some orbs and stuff above you guys. I tried to download it so I can show you, but it kept cutting out.
She had mentioned the night before that the place was haunted.
We didn't observe any unexplained phenomena, though we were kind of creeped out that someone had been spying on us while we were sleeping.
We got out of there as quickly as we could and never looked back.
And that's how I celebrated my birthday that year.
Happy birthday.